with it. Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Puneet Sahani. He is a Sikh American scholar whose research focuses on the evolution of the Sikh identity and Khalistani terrorism. His presentation or his talk is on the profile of the perpetrators of affecting the larger geopolitical concerns. Mr. Sahani?
Thank you. Namaste, Jai Mama. So, we are here because, there is a surge of attacks on Hindu temples across North America. And my case here is that, this is not just, something that should concern like 1% of Hindus in America. It affects and it should be of concern to 100% of Americans, because this is a very serious national security threat. And, it is coming from the abuse of the asylum laws. And again, like my background is actually in computer science, and I may take you to a thing that, it's kind of there. But I hope I can help because I argue for the first principles. And I provide you evidence of, hello? Is it better now? Yeah. Okay, sorry. So let's take an example, just the presentation before me, she was going to 2023. But there was an attack pretty close to where I live in New York City on Queens. It was the day after the Indian Independence Day on Tulsi Market. And the guys were actually caught on CCTV camera. And the congressperson of that locality, her name is Jennifer Rajkumar. And, she said, we are going to take these people, we're going to fight, hate crime. Now, this is actually very interesting, and it's actually very, very important. See, the thing is, in America, if you charge somebody for a hate crime, they can go as much as for 20 years. But if you say, they did some political protest, you don't even get a slap on the wrist. And I know this is the argument that they would take. So I presented to Jennifer Rajkumar all the evidence that I had. So, to give you a perspective how dangerous these Khalistanis are. So in just that area of New York City, Queens, where this happens, which is kind of like their heart and center. So I gave her 1994, 1996, 2011, so many reportages that were covered in New York Times. So, and now, at that time, there was not any, online edition. It was only print edition. So this one small area of Gurdwara was repeatedly making, and, Indians as a whole are about 1% of the US population. So how much would be the Sikhs? Maximum 25%. And they are spread all across the United States. The first ones came to the Pacific coast. So I just said, these people are attacking. And if you see all the victims, and these are just when somebody has died of violence. There are so many where the police could not, find out what happened. There was somebody who died, somebody who got burned, something got fired. And I just said, so first what they're going to make is, if you take this thing, they're going to say you're attacking the Sikhs. So I'm like, here is all the evidence, that the Sikhs are the biggest victims of these thugs. And the second case they are going to make is, we did some political protest. And I said, you told why it is so important. And again, when I talk about national security, so when we talk about national security and terrorism, the very first thing that will come to the mind of people is 9/11, right? And that was the greatest act of aviation terror in the world, and it still is. If you go before that, what was the greatest act of aviation terror? Some of you may know it was actually the Khalistanis bomb, the plane, a civil airliner in 1985 out of Canada. And in that, 329 people died. And more than 80 of them were killed under the age of 12. Now, if you may have a question, why did the Khalistanis from Canada bomb this plane? Why didn't they bomb from America? You see, the community here is bigger. And in many ways, it's easier to get weapons here than in Canada. So I tell you something very poignant, very interesting. In 1985, just when the Canadians were, planning to bomb the civil airline, at the very same time, they were trying to do something very similar in America. But the Canadians dropped the ball. They had a mountain of evidence. And, there is a great journalist by the name of Terry Walensky. He has also written a book called Blood for Bloods that goes into this tragedy. So they had a mountain of credible intelligence. But they did not set the detonate they allow these terrorists to take advantage, which an open society allows, to undermine that system. And so they did do it. But the Americans were very proactive. So, for example, there was a guy, his name was Gurpratap Singh Birk. So at the very same time, he was trying to do the same. He didn't do it. So he was trying to get weapons to kill the Prime Minister of India at the time, Rajiv Gandhi. So FBI caught him. There was an FBI undercover agent who said, okay, I'm going to provide. He never actually got hold of the weapons. He just wanted to try to get weapons to kill. FBI sent him to prison, this Gurpratap Singh Birk, for 17 years. And that basically set an effective dent in it. And once you actually do that, you are safe probably from, because it's simple criminality in terrorism. You have to make it more expensive for the terrorists to not do, what they want to do. And I told Jennifer that you do that, this is 2022. You are going to make, Canada out of the United States. And, this is what will happen. And again, maybe because of Khalistani pressure and, maybe she was misled. She dropped the ball. And this is exactly what has happened. And, they were showing, for example, when they defaced these temples, there's written Bhindanwala Zinandbad. So who is the Bhindanwala? So again, what is they are exactly like the Muslim Brotherhood. So the thing is, when they talk in English, they infiltrate the institutions of open societies. And if you hear they talk about freedom of speech and there will be more democratic rights and all this nonsense. But it's very interesting what they actually, when they speak to their own audience, because then the veneer drops. Just, memory also does for, these jihadis in the Middle East. And what, I also and my team have started doing is basically transcribing what this Khalistani is actually saying to their audience. So this Bhindanwala, and this is before anything of 84 happened, the tragic events. So Bhindanwala says from an open stage, police had impounded his bus. And he challenges the police, if you don't release my bus on this day by 5 p.m., I will kill 5,000 Hindus in 1 hour. So what does Hindus have to do with the bus? And he's saying my bus is so expensive, my bus is 5 lakhs. And and the police has been holding this for 1 year. So let's, appreciate there is no depreciation. What he's basically saying, the cost of an innocent Hindu life is basically 60 rupees. So these are the kind of people who they are venerating. And I guess, for example, this guy who bombed the plane, his name is Tanvinder Singh Parmar or Babbar Khalsa. And this is not what Puneet Sahani is saying. This is what multiple Canadian investigations have found, that this is the guy who basically, bombed the plane. Now you see these guys are being venerated inside your congressional district. So forget about Hindus or whatever, some ground people fighting amongst each other. There is, inside your congressional district, people who venerate, who gave genocidal calls for no reason. People who bombed kids in mid-air, and for them these are these great idols. Do you think they will ever be a decent neighbor to you? So this is a threat that is festering inside. And you have to be careful. So for example, America is a great country with a strong military. And it lost the war in Afghanistan because Pakistan was a safe haven. And it is tragic that Canada certainly is the Pakistan of the West. But US is kind of, because earlier it used to be very proactive in dealing with terrorism. Actually, to give you a very interesting example. So this Khalistani terrorists, they bombed the plane in 1985. And they found out the organization who did that was Babbar Khalsa. Babbar Khalsa was not banned in Canada till 2002. You know why? Because they didn't give a damn. Actually, when 9/11 happened, then Americans got serious. And they started asking all the countries that you have to now act. Then Canada said, oh, okay, all right, maybe we should ban these people who were basically bombed the plane. And they were not just allowed to operate. Till 2002, they were a charity. So you could donate your tax-free dollars there. Now, other is like the asylum law. So, for example, I give you an example, how these are being exploited and why these mandirs are attacked and why these Indian consulates are attacked. Because this is a very easy way to get asylum. So, in last year, I basically did an expose in March 2023. There is a Khalistani in India, and he's posting, again. So, in English, he talks about democratic rights and all. In Punjabi, when he's talking to this audience, he's like, yeah, I charge money and there is a fixed price, and you give me the money and I will give you the letter that you are suffering from persecution and you will get asylum. And the person was like, why are you charging money? He's like, how do I run my own office? I have like a party to run, so this is just like a way of source of income to me. And then, thankfully, the Daily Mail in the UK, 3 months after that, they did an expose of, the same thing. And, so they get like an undercover, person who says, he wants to file an asylum. And there is also one Sri Lanka, but most of them are Pakistani. And the lawyer is caught on camera. And he says, I don't care who you are. Doesn't matter if you sympathize with Khalistani or not. You just say you are Khalistani. And you will say, you have been tortured and you are being persecuted and, you were sexually tortured and now you cannot be married and you have like suicidal thoughts, and we'll get you the asylum. And thankfully this became a news, and the Prime Minister of UK, Rishi Sunak, he took this up. And after that, a few months after that, now India is in the safe list. Safe list means you can't basically apply for religious persecution asylum from India. And if you see that, once they did it, the cases, this attacks on temples and, attack on consulates have dropped. Because, like it's a crime, it's an industry. So you see like what are the incentives and what are the costs. So now there's maybe some cost, but the incentives to do this kind of things have kind of dropped. But in US, it's not. So, I just, I recommend you to follow my Twitter account. A lot of people think, and I'm sorry if I'm not. On February 28, they are just like how they valorize mass murderers. So there was a guy who was one of the most dreaded terrorists, responsible for thousands of deaths. His name was Gurbachan Singh Manochar. And they said, this great religious warrior had died, and, we would commemorate him. And I basically just took out, he died in 1993. I gave reportage. It's not opinion, it's reportage. So few months before he died, the India Today did a reportage, and it is sexual terrorism in Punjab. How these Khalistanis would basically abduct women, and they would abduct Sikh women and rape them. So how this Manochar, and they name it, this village, this person, they go there, and they barge into a Sikh family, and they abduct it. And so that is what. And I also showed like footage when he died, his village, and that's 100% Sikh. They are celebrating as if it's Diwali. So this mass murderer, when he dies, his village is celebrated Diwali, and he would abduct and rape women. They are saying this is the Sikh Research Institute. They publish he's a great martyr. And based on that, they are changing. So I think I took too much time. Thank you very much.